Adam McKinney finds healing through dance.
I engage memory, and I think about the repercussions of memory. What do we remember? What do we choose not to remember? How can we tell the stories of our ancestors? How do we relate the past to the present? And how will that then inform the future? For me, it's about creating accurate images and telling true stories of my own experience and that of my family's.
My great-great-grandfather, Jackson Davis, born around 1870 in Mississippi. He worked as a sharecropper, and according to my aunties, bore the family name of his father's father, Jefferson Davis, the leader of the Confederate Army.
Hamapa is a really autobiographical piece of work. Can you talk specifically about the process for interviewing and storytelling and courageous conversations around the creation of that?
The word Hamapa means the map, and it symbolizes my body as being the map of the locus of trajectories of my families. In terms of the research process for Hamapa, I used dance as the lens through which I looked back. I would interview family members via audio, via the phone, on video. I've always been a genealogist. I wanted to know who everyone was in my family and how they were related to me.
My grandmother, Cora Beatrice Daly, was a published poet. She was born in 1918 and had 9 children.
In Hamapa, I use dance, theater, and multimedia to tell my own experience as a mixed heritage person. I feel like this conversation around mixed heritage identity isn't often represented in media.
The cries of infant males were stilled. The lives of firstborn sons were blotted out, where dwellers were unworthy of the bloody brush.
And she ran north, away from my grandfather, who was so...
What does that feel like?
For me, it's freeing. It's opening the places in the dialogue where we haven't been yet as a culture and as a society. I try not to necessarily portray trauma on stage. I feel like we have enough trauma in our lives, but rather coming from a place of liberation, doing the healing work, going through that place. In Hamapa, there's a video of the door of no return at Elmina Castle in Ghana. And what do we as people have to move through? What are the doors that we must go through so that we can open up this conversation? In terms of what it feels like a healing. It feels like I'm coming home to my own body, to the locus of the embodiment of my ancestors. In doing my genealogical work, I'm finding and understanding better historical perspectives of racism and how racism has affected my ancestors' lives.
Why dance to tell that story?
I have a body. I'm looking towards civil rights movements and certainly what we see in terms of sit-ins and people using their bodies to come together toward finding some sort of reconciliation. So for me, finding change means going inside my body and connecting it with other bodies A question that we often ask audiences after Hamapa is, what does the blood know? What do we know in our cells, in our DNA, that we can't necessarily communicate on an intellectual level? For example, in one of the last sections, I sing a song and I don't finish the song. I create a blockage. And I don't know why I created that in the creative process.
And when the night is through, I'll be looking at the moon, and I'll be seeing.
And then after the performance, after I premiered the performance, my mother communicated to me that my grandfather sang this song to her and recorded it on a record, but near the end it cut off.
Wow.
I think about how my ancestors moved. I hear their voices, I have some of them on a recording. And I think about the ways in which they might have moved, whether it was a large trajectory of space and time, or if it were from here to the refrigerator. How might that then inform my own physical body in performance? So for me, it really is around memory, and not in this intellectual place,
But what the body remembers.
but in this embodied place. How might my own body remember the transatlantic slave trade, because it is still inside my cellular structure? And how might dance then be a healing and be a break in terms of the internalization of the structures of oppression?
What's the power of art?
For me, the power of art is around remembering that we're not alone. It's about coming together. It's about asking questions about why we are the way we are, how we've ended up, and how we can move forward. I want everyone to have access to resources, whether that be monetary or food or health. And how can art move that conversation forward? It's about creating beauty and creating beauty out of stories, but it's also about this really important social justice conversation for me around making people's lives better. And so for me, the power of art is remembering and moving forward.